when brethren gather in the name of Yahushua. How good and how pleasant it is when brethren love your Torah. How good and how pleasant it is when brethren love one another. How good and how pleasant it is when brethren seek to obey your Torah and keep your Feast of Tabernacles. Thank you, Father Yahweh, for calling these people, for calling them from the north and the south, the east and the west. Thank you for your call to your people. Thank you for the restoration of all your truth, of all your word. Thank you for giving us your word. Thank you for the living word that became flesh. And thank you for the word that you feed us every day. We thank you for the food, the provision you give us, the physical food for our bodies. But even more, we thank you so much for the food you give for our spirit and our soul. Your word, your truth, your instruction. Father, as we hear your word, as we read your word, may it penetrate deep into our beings and enable us to carry out the purposes that you choose in our life. Thank you, thank you, thank you. In the name of your Son, Yahushua HaMashiach. Hallelujah. Sukkot Shalom! Okay, before reading from Deuteronomy, also known as Devarim, I thought I'd read a verse here from the book of Acts, a couple of verses. It says, Acts 15, verse 19. Therefore I judge that we should not trouble those from among the nations who are turning to Elohim, but that we write to them to abstain from the defilement of idols, and from fornications, and from what is strangled, and from blood. For from ancient generations Moshe has in every city those proclaiming him, being read in the congregations every Shabbat. And that's what we're doing today. We're learning Torah. Whoa. Deuteronomy chapter 11. And you shall love Yahweh your mighty one, and guard his charge, yes, his laws, and his right rulings, and his commands, always. And you shall know today, for it is not your children who have not known and who have not seen the discipline of Yahweh, your Eloheka, his greatness, his strong hand, and his outstretched arm, and his signs, and his works which he has done in the midst of Mizraim, to Pharaoh, ruler of Mizraim, and to all his land, and that which he had done to the army of Mizraim, to their horses and their chariots, when he made the waters of the Sea of Reeds overflow them as they pursued you, and how Yahweh has destroyed them to this day. And what he had done for you in the wilderness till you came to this place, and what he had done to Datan and Abiram, the sons of Eliab, son of Reuben, when the earth opened its mouth and swallowed them up, and their households, and all their tents, and all the living creatures that were in their possession, in the midst of all Yisrael. For yours are the eyes that saw all the great work of Yahweh which he did. And you shall keep every command which I command you today, so that you are strong, and shall go in and shall possess the land which you are possessing to possess, which you are passing over to possess, and to prolong your days in the land which Yahweh swore to give your patriarchs, to them and their descendants, a land flowing with milk and honey. For the land which you are going in to possess is not like the land of Mitzrayim, from which you have come, where you sowed your seed and watered it by foot, as like a vegetable garden. But the land which you are passing over to possess is a land of hills and valleys, which drinks water from the rain of the skies, a land which Yahweh your Eloheka looks after. The eyes of Yahweh your Eloheka are always on it, from the beginning of the year to the latter end of the year. And it shall be that if you diligently obey my commands, which I command you today, to love Yahweh your mighty one, and to serve him with all your heart and with all your soul, then I shall give you the rain for your land in its season, the early rain and the latter rain, and you shall gather in your grain and your new wine and your oil. And I shall give grass in your fields for your livestock, and you shall eat and be satisfied. Guard yourselves, lest your heart be deceived. Guard yourselves, lest your heart be deceived. And you turn aside and serve other gods and bow down to them. Then the displeasure of Yahweh shall burn against you, and he shall shut up the skies, and there be no rain, and the land not give its increase, and you shall perish quickly from the good land which Yahweh is giving you. And you shall lay up these words of mine in your heart and in your soul, and shall bind them like a sign on your hand, and they shall be like frontlets between your eyes. And you shall teach them to your children, speaking of them when you sit in your house, and when you walk by the way, and when you lie down, and when you rise up. And you shall write them on the doorposts of your house and on your gates, so that your days and the days of your children are increased on the soil of which Yahweh swore to your patriarchs to give them, as the days of the heavens on the earth. For if you diligently keep all these commands which I command you to do it, to love Yahweh your mighty one, to walk in all his ways, and to cling to him, then Yahweh shall drive out all these nations before you, and you shall dispossess greater and stronger nations than you. Every place on which the sole of your foot treads is yours. From the wilderness and Lebanon, from the river Euphrates, even to the western sea is your border. No man shall stand against you. Yahweh your mighty one shall put the dread of you and the fear of you upon all the land where you tread, as he has spoken to you. Look, I am setting before you today a blessing and a curse. The blessing, when you obey the commands of Yahweh, your Eloheka, which I command you today. And the curse, if you do not obey the commands of Yahweh, your Eloheka, but turn aside from the way which I command you today, to go after other gods which you have not known. And it shall be, when Yahweh your mighty one has brought you into the land which you go to possess, that you shall put the blessing on Mount Gerizim and the curse on Mount Ebal. Are they not beyond the Jordan, toward the setting sun, in the land of Canaani, who dwell in the desert plain opposite Gilgal, beside the terebinth trees of Moreh. For you are passing over the Jordan to go in to possess the land which Yahweh, your mighty one, is giving you. And you shall possess it and dwell in it, and shall guard to do all the laws and right rulings which I am setting before you today. Chapter 12. These are the laws and right rulings which you guard to do in the land which Yahweh, Elohim of your patriarchs, is giving you to possess all the days that you live on the soil. Completely destroy all the places where the nations which you are dispossessing served their gods, on the high mountains and on the trees and under the evergreen tree. And you shall break down their sacrifice places and smash their pillars and burn their ephers with fire. And you shall cut down the carved images of their gods and shall destroy their name out of that place. Do not do so to Yahweh, your mighty one, but seek the place which Yahweh, your mighty one, chooses out of all your tribes to put his name there for his dwelling place. And there you shall enter. And there you shall take your ascending offerings and your sacrifices and your tithes and the contributions of your hand and your vowed offerings and your voluntary offerings and the firstlings of your herd and of your flock. And there you shall eat before Yahweh your Eloheka, and shall rejoice in all that you put your hand to, you and your households, in which Yahweh your Eloheka has blessed you. Do not do as we are doing here today, each one whatever is right in his own eyes, because you have not yet entered the rest and the inheritance which Yahweh, your Eloheka, is giving you. But you shall pass over the Jordan, and shall dwell in the land which Yahweh, your Eloheka, is giving you to inherit. He shall give you rest from all your enemies round about, and you shall dwell in safety. And it shall be that unto the place which Yahweh, your mighty one, chooses to make his name dwell there, there you are to bring all that I command you, your ascending offerings, and your sacrifices, and your tithes, and the contributions of your hand, and all your choice offerings which you vow to Yahweh. And you shall rejoice before Yahweh, your mighty one, you and your sons and your daughters, and your male servants and your female servants, and the Levi, who is within your gates, since he has no portion nor inheritance with you. Guard yourself that you do not offer your ascending offerings in every place that you see, except in the place which Yahweh chooses, in one of your tribes. There you are to offer your ascending offerings, and there you are to do all that I command you. Only whatever your soul desires, you shall sacrifice and eat, according to the blessing of Yahweh your mighty one, which he has given you within all your gates. The unclean and the clean do eat of it, of the gazelle and the deer alike. Only the blood you do not eat. Pour it on the earth like water. You are not allowed to eat within your gates the tithe of your grain, or of your new wine, or your oil, or of the firstlings of your herd, or your flock, or any of your offerings which you vow, or of your voluntary offerings, or of the contribution of your land. But eat them before Yahweh, your mighty one, in the place which Yahweh, your Eloheka, chooses. You and your son and your daughter, and your male servant and your female servant, and the Lewi, who is within your gates. And you shall rejoice before Yahweh your Eloheka in all that you put your hands to. Guard yourself that you do not forsake the Levite as long as you live in your land. When Yahweh your Eloheka enlarges your border as he has promised you, and you say, let me eat meat, because you long to eat meat. You eat as much meat as your soul desires. When the place where Yahweh your Eloheka chooses to put his name is too far from you, then you shall slaughter from your herd and from your flock which Yahweh has given you, as I have commanded you. And you shall eat within your gates as much as your soul desires. Only as the gazelle and the deer are eaten, so you are to eat of it. The unclean and the clean alike eat of it. Only be strong not to eat the blood, for the blood is the life. Do not eat the life with the meat. Do not eat it. You pour it on the earth like water. Do not eat it, that it might be well with you and your children after you, when you do what is right in the eyes of Yahweh. Only the Kodesh set apart, which you have, and your vowed offerings, you are to take up and go to the place which Yahweh chooses. And you shall make your ascending offerings, the meat and the blood, on the sacrifice place of Yahweh your Eloheka. And the blood of your sacrifices is poured out on the sacrifice place of Yahweh your Eloheka, and you eat the meat. Keep and obey all these words which I command you, that it might be well with you and your children after you forever, when you do what is good and right in the eyes of Yahweh your Eloheka. When Yahweh your mighty one does cut off from before you the nations which you go to dispossess, and you dispossess them and dwell in their land, guard yourself that you are not ensnared to follow them after they are destroyed from before you, and that you do not inquire about their gods, saying, how did these nations serve their gods? And let me do so too. Do not do so to Yahweh your mighty one. For every abomination which Yahweh hates, they have done to their gods. For they even burn their sons and daughters in the fire to their gods. All the words I am commanding you, guard to do it. Do not add to it, nor take away from it. Chapter 13. When there arises among you a prophet or a dreamer of dreams, and he gives you a sign or a wonder, and the sign or the wonder shall come true, of which he has spoken to you, saying, let us go after other mighty ones, which you have not known, and serve them. Do not listen to the words of that prophet or that dreamer of dreams. For Yahweh, your mighty one, is testing you to know whether you love Yahweh your Eloheka with all your heart and with all your soul. Walk after Yahweh your Eloheka, and fear him, and guard his commands, and obey his voice, and serve him, and cling to him. And that prophet, or that dreamer of dreams, is put to death, because he has spoken apostasy against Yahweh your Eloheka, who brought you out of the land of Mitzrayim, and ransomed you from the house of bondage, to make you stray from the way in which Yahweh your Eloheka commanded you to walk. Thus you shall purge the evil from your midst. When your brother the son of your mother, or your son, or your daughter, or the wife of your bosom, or your friend who is like your own soul, entices you secretly, saying, let us go and serve other gods, which you have not known, neither you nor your fathers, of the mighty ones of the people which are all around you, near to you or far off from you, from one end of the earth to the other end of the earth. Do not agree with him or listen to him, nor shall your eye pardon him, nor spare him or conceal him, but you shall certainly kill him. Your hand is first against him to put him to death, and afterward the hand of all the people. And you shall stone him with stones until he dies, because he sought to entice you away from Yahweh, your mighty one, who brought you out of the land of Mitzrayim, from the house of bondage. And let all Yisrael hear and fear, and not again do any such evil as this in your midst. When you hear someone in one of your cities, which Yahweh your Eloheka gives to you to dwell in, saying, some men, sons of Belial, have gone out of your midst and led the inhabitants of their city astray, saying, let us go and serve other gods, mighty ones whom you have not known. Then you shall inquire, search out, and ask diligently, and see if the matter is true and established, that this abomination was done in your midst. And you shall certainly strike the inhabitants of that city with the edge of the sword, putting it under the ban, and all that is in it, and its livestock with the edge of the sword, and gather all its plunder into the midst of the street, and completely burn with fire the city and all its plunder before Yahweh your Eloheka. And it shall be a heap forever, never to be built again. And none of that which is put under the ban is to cling to your hand, so that Yahweh turns from the fierceness of his displeasure, and shall show you compassion, love you, and increase you, as he swore to your patriarchs. When you obey the voice of Yahweh, your mighty one, to keep all his commands which I command you today, to do what is right in the eyes of Yahweh, your Eloheka. Chapter 14. You are the children of Yahweh, your mighty one. Do not cut yourselves, nor shave the front of your head for the dead. For you are a set-apart Kodesh people to Yahweh, your mighty one. And Yahweh has chosen you to be a people for himself, a treasured possession above all the peoples who are on the face of the earth. Do not eat whatever is abominable. Do not eat whatever is abominable. These are the living creatures which you do eat: ox, sheep, and goat, deer, and gazelle, and roebuck, and wild goat, and mountain goat, and antelope, and mountain sheep, and every animal that has a split hoof divided in two, chewing the cud. Among the animals you do eat. But of those chewing the cud, or those having a split hoof completely divided, you do not eat, such as these: the camel, and the hare, and the rabbit, for they chew the cud, but do not have a split hoof. They are unclean for you. And the pig is unclean for you, because it has a split hoof. but does not chew the cud. You do not eat their flesh or touch their dead carcasses. These you do eat of all that are in the waters. All that have fins and scales you do eat. But whatever does not have fins and scales you do not eat. It is unclean for you. Any clean bird you do eat, but these you do not eat: the eagle, and the vulture, and the black vulture, and the red kite, and the falcon, and the buzzard after their kinds, and every raven after its kind, and the ostrich, and the nighthawk, and the seagull, and the hawk after their kinds, the little owl, and the great owl, and the white owl, and the pelican, and the carrion vulture, and the fisher owl, and the stork, and the heron after its kind, and the hoopoe, and the bat, and every creeper that flies is unclean for you. They are not eaten. Any clean bird you do eat. Do not eat whatever dies of itself. You give that to the stranger who is within your gates to eat it, or sell it to a foreigner. For you are a set-apart Kodesh people to Yahweh your Eloheka. Do not cook a young goat in its mother's milk. You shall tithe without fail all the yield of your grain that the field brings forth year by year. And you shall eat before Yahweh your Eloheka in the place where he chooses to make his name dwell, the tithe of your grain, and your new wine, and your oil, and of the firstlings of your herds and your sheep, so that you learn to fear Yahweh your Eloheka always. But when the way is too long for you, so that you are not able to bring the tithe, or when the place where Yahweh your Eloheka chooses to put his name is too far from you, when Yahweh your mighty one is blessing you, then you shall give it in silver, and shall take the silver in your hand, and go to the place which Yahweh your Eloheka chooses. And you shall use the silver for whatever your soul desires, for cattle or sheep, for wine or drink, for whatever your soul desires. And you shall eat there before Yahweh your Eloheka, and you shall rejoice, you and your household. But do not forsake the Levite who is within your gates, for he has no part nor inheritance with you. At the end of every third year, you bring out all the tithe of your increase of that year, and store it within your gates. And the Levite, because he has no portion nor inheritance with you, and the sojourner, and the fatherless, and the widow, who are within your gates, shall come and eat and be satisfied, so that Yahweh, your mighty one, does bless you in all the work of your hand which you do. Chapter 15. At the end of every 7 years, you make a release. And this is the word of the release. Every creditor is to release what he has loaned to his neighbor. He does not require it of his neighbor or his brother, because it is called the release of Yahweh. Of a foreigner, you could require it, but your hand is to release whatever is owed by your brother. Only there should be no poor among you, for Yahweh does greatly bless you in the land which Yahweh, your mighty one, is giving you to possess as an inheritance. Only if you diligently obey the voice of Yahweh, your mighty one, to guard to do all these commands which I am commanding you today. For Yahweh, your Eloheka, shall bless you like he promised you. And you shall lend to many nations, but you shall not borrow. And you shall rule over many nations, and they do not rule over you. When there is a poor man with you, one of your brothers, within any of the gates in your land, which Yahweh, your Eloheka, is giving you, do not harden your heart, nor shut your hand from your poor brother. For you shall certainly open your hand to him, and certainly lend him enough for his need, whatever he needs. Be on guard, lest there be a thought of Belial in your heart, saying, the 7th year, the year of release is near, and your eye is evil toward your poor brother, and you give him nothing, and he shall cry out to Yahweh against you, and it shall be a sin in you. You shall certainly give to him, and your heart should not be grieved when you give to him. Because for this reason, Yahweh your mighty one does bless you in all your works. Because for this reason, Yahweh your mighty one does bless you in all your works and in all to which you put your hand. Because the poor one does not cease from the land. Therefore I am commanding you, saying, you shall certainly open your hand to your brother, to your poor, and to your needy one in your land. When your brother is sold to you, a Hebrew man or a Hebrew woman, and shall serve you 6 years, then let him go free from you in the 7th year. And when you send him away, free from you, let him not go away empty-handed. You shall richly supply him from your flock, and from your threshing floor, and from your winepress, with that which Yahweh has blessed you with. Give to him. And you shall remember that you were a slave in the land of Mitzrayim, and Yahweh your Eloheka ransomed you. Therefore I am commanding you this word today. And it shall be, when he says to you, I do not go away from you, because he loves you in your house, because it is good for him with you. Then you shall take an awl and thrust it through his ear to the door, and he shall be your servant forever. Do the same to your female servant. Let it not be hard in your eyes when you send him away free from you, for he has been worth a double hired servant in serving you 6 years. And Yahweh your Eloheka shall bless you in all that you do. Set apart to Yahweh your mighty one all the firstborn males that come from your herd and your flock. Do not work with the firstborn of your herd, nor shear the firstborn of your flock. You and your household are to eat it before Yahweh your Eloheka year by year in the place which Yahweh chooses. But when there is any defect in it, lame or blind or has any evil defect, do not sacrifice it to Yahweh your Elohim. Eat it within your gates, the unclean and the clean alike, as the gazelle and as the deer. Only do not eat its blood. Pour it on the ground like water. Torah, the word of Elohim.